This chapter was fun to read about because I really enjoyed learning about how families changed over time from early history, colonial times, and modern times. I liked learning about the baby boom and how it affected families in a good way after getting out of World War II, because then families were able to create those emotional bonds with each other, and also women were able to get jobs because more appliances were invented, like the washing machine, so there was less time she had to clean. It was cool to see how nuclear families were buried facing each other, even if they weren't actually related, because it showed those ties they had with each other. I think it was interesting to read that the Europeans were more of a patriarchy and the Indians were more of a matriarch, because most kin would call themselves descendants of their mothers rather than fathers. I learned that in the colonial times that the woman's duties was to serve her husband and that he is more like a lord to her rather than a friend. I liked how that changed later in modern times. It was also shocking to think that kids in colonial times would always work and be pushed by their fathers instead of getting to play and act like a normal kid. We know that in that time there were slaves, so those people missed out on having actual close bonded families, but later on they were able to get their independence back. I was surprised to read that even in modern times, the woman was still staying at home and keeping a social harmony for their children, while the father was able to work and provide for the family. More widows and orphans were coming to coming to be though, which I thought was sad, but in a way it makes sense because once women did start having careers, there was no need to have a husband because in those times a lot of marriages were only together to survive. Although in the modern family times, it seemed like men were still more independent than women were because men would move out of the home way before women did, because women would usually live at home until they got married. I think dating became more important to people because with courtship, I feel like it would be harder to get to know that person and also hard to see what you wanted in a husband or wife. With dating, people were able to get a feel of what kind of attributes they liked in a person. Diverse marriages are now becoming more popular because nowadays racism isn't in everyone's eyes. We have become more independent in relationships in everyday life. The emotional bonds between children and families are becoming stronger, and I think that is a really important thing.